Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you can hear me. So as you can see right now, just over there is the two shrines of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam. We're not far from the shrines of these two holy people. It's very close to us, and you know, right now it's the time of Arbaeen. It's the time of sadness as well. So I just want to touch on 4 people in this short video. I promise you I'll try to keep it short, even though it will be slightly long. The 4 people I will touch on, and this is to relate to charity, is the 5 people I will touch on is Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, which is also known as Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, and finally Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Just to show you the relations of these people, you have Imam Ali alayhi salam, who is the father of Imam Hussein. Then you have Imam Hussein alayhi salam himself. Then we're going to talk about his sister Bibi Zainab, then talk about his son Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, and finally his grandson Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam. And I just want to relate these holy people to charity, and just so we can understand what they had done in their lives for charity, and how every Imam had a different connection when it came to helping the needy, helping the hungry, the poor, or the orphans, whoever they were helping, and how they were different in their ways of helping. So I want to start by reading a hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salam. It says, Imam Ali alayhi salam was very kind to children, especially to the orphans. If he ever saw an orphan crying, he would stop doing whatever he was doing. He would bend down, give the child his salam, wipe away the child's tears, put his hand on the child's shoulder and say, "My child, why are you crying?" Just look at what Imam Ali alayhi salam used to do. He used to drop everything. You can think about what an Imam is, who an Imam is, and how much role they hold in the world, what they have to do, the amount of responsibilities they hold. And the the first Imam Ali alayhi salam, would drop everything he had and come to the child and talk to the child and say, "Why are you crying?" Show the child love. And the child, and then Imam Ali would say, "Has someone hurt you? Come, let me take you to my house." And Imam Ali alayhi salam would take the child home and treat him better than any father would have treated their own child. Imam Ali alayhi salam would treat the child who's crying better than any father would treat their own child. And he would bring the child sweets, cakes, honey, and feed the child physically himself. He will actually put the food in the child's mouth. There's also another hadith which talks about Imam Ali. It says, Imam Ali alayhi salam used to tell his followers to love and be kind to the orphans, especially the orphans of the martyrs who were killed in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who we know as the shaheed. So Imam Ali alayhi salam says we should be kind to the orphans, especially the ones who are children of shaheed. They have lost their loving fathers, and this is what Imam Ali used to say. So cheer them up and look after them just like a father would. There's a reason I mentioned this quote specifically, and inshallah we could try and come back to it. But just to move on to now, the second holy person I said I will speak about is Imam Hussein alayhi salam, who is buried behind us just over there. I hope you can see it clearly in the camera. And it is well known that Imam Hussein alayhi salam used to pat the head of an orphan child. As soon as he knew the child was an orphan, it's very well known. And there's a very known story behind this, where when Muslim ibn Aqil was thrown off the rooftop of the Masjid in Kufa, or the palace in Kufa actually, the sons and the daughter of Muslim ibn Aqil was with Imam Hussein in the caravan on the way to Karbala. And as soon as, so when the Imam Hussein alayhi salam heard the news of the killing of Muslim ibn Aqil, or the martyrdom of Muslim ibn Aqil alayhi salam, or may Allah be pleased with him, he pat the head of his daughter Hamida, who was with the Imam in Karbala. And the Hamida, the child of Muslim ibn Aqil, said to Imam Hussein, "You only pat the head of orphans. What has happened to my father?" So this shows you that the Imam was well known for what he used to do to the orphans. He used to pat them on the head, even to the extent where he pat the child of Muslim ibn Aqil on the head. The child already knew, without the Imam even saying anything, the child knew that her father had been martyred. So when Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqil was made shaheed, okay, so this is just another hadith which explains the exact same thing, that says that that Imam Hussein used to pat the head off the child. But there's another story which is very similar, same time period, where even the daughter of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, we all know as Bibi Sakina or Bibi Ruqayya, Sayyida Ruqayya alayhi salam, and she asks her father, this is quite sad actually, when she knows her father is going out for the final time, he's leaving the camp for the final time for the battle, she actually asks her father, "Oh father, please pat me on the head like you pat any other orphan, because after you leave today, I will also become an orphan. So today many people, and this relates back to the point I said earlier about Imam Ali alayhi salam and how he talked about looking after the shaheed as well, and I wanted to say that today many people are becoming shaheeds. They leave their children behind as orphans, and this isn't something that they do as a choice, but it's something as in they don't leave their children behind as a choice, but they become shaheed as a choice. They lose their lives in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's and I wanted to say that we should follow in the footsteps of our holy Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Imam Ali alayhi salam. And inshallah in the coming few little hadith I'm just going to mention as well, that we should look after the children, especially here in Iraq. If you look over the streets over here, there's many children, and many of them, they have their label to prove that they are shaheed, that their father, they're not, they are shaheed. They have the labels to prove that their father has become shaheed and that they are orphans and that they need help. And if they see this label, you should help them with every right, even if it's to give them a hug. As we all know the famous saying of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that even a smile to your brother is a form of charity. So any form of charity we can perform. I do know I'm speaking fast, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to rush through these. So yeah, I was going to say, we all know about the tragedy after Karbala, and one of the reasons we mourn the 40th day of after Ashura, which is known as Arbaeen, which is why I'm here today actually, is because of the way the family were treated and the way that the family of the Ahlulbayt of Imam Hussein alayhi salam were made captives after the Battle of Ashura. During the period of their captivity, many of them were little children orphans. Their fathers had been killed in the battle. So many of these children that were in this captivity were orphans, and they had lost their parents in the Battle of Ashura. So the question I wanted to ask is, who do you think looked after the lives of these orphans during their captivity? While they were chained, while they were dragged through the streets of Sham, who looked after these orphans? Who was the one who looked after them, who mothered them, who fathered them? And the person who looked after these children, both her parents, her brothers, her whole family, were all made shaheed throughout their lives. Imam Ali alayhi salam was made a shaheed. Imam Hussein alayhi salam was made shaheed. Bibi Fatima alayhi salam was shaheed. All her family were shaheed, and we all know who I'm talking about. It was Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam only had a few women with her, only a handful of women with her, and Imam Sajjad alayhi salam with her, to look after all the orphans. So now I've related how Bibi Zainab alayhi salam also used to look after the orphans and the children. And I want to move on just so we don't take too long, inshallah. So we're going to talk about Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. And I can honestly talk forever about Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. There's so much about Imam Sajjad alayhi salam that relates him to charity, and there's just everything, the books he had written and everything. So I can talk about Imam Sajjad forever when it comes to looking after the poor. But we all know about the books he has written, and there's one that I want to mention specifically is Risalat al-Huquq, which is known as the Treaty of the Rights. If you look at chapter 13 of this book, it's called the rights of the charity, meaning that the rights of the person in need. What rights do they have? Not only we have rights, not only the rich people have rights, not only the wealthy people have rights, also the poor people have rights and the hungry people have rights. And Imam Sajjad addresses this in chapter 13. I'll let you read that yourself because I don't want to go through the whole chapter. But I will mention something which is what I heard in the Majalis, I think 2 days ago. While our fifth Imam was performing the ghusl of his father, so when our fifth Imam was performing the ghusl of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, and he was washing the body, and he saw 2 sets of marks on the body of his father. He started crying because we all know where one set of these marks were from. The first set of marks were from Sham, where the chains of when they were captives, the chains had left marks, and we hear this many times in our lives throughout the majalis, that these chains had left marks on Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. But the other set of marks is what the question people were asking, what are those sets of marks? Those marks were from the food parcels that Imam Sajjad was carrying around with him when he used to go in the middle of the night. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam used to go in the middle of the night when the sun was set, there was no light, and he used to feed the hungry. There's a famous story behind this where a man who used to curse Imam Sajjad alayhi salam publicly, after the death of Imam Sajjad, the son of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam told the man, "Why do you curse my father?" And he says, "Because your father never did anything for me." And he says, every night how there was food outside your house, and every morning you would wake up with food and you'll take it in your house? That person who dropped the food off was my father. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam used to go out in the middle of the night, and his son testified for this. He says, my father used to go out in the middle of the night and hand food to the hungry people, hand food to the poor people who couldn't afford food. This was Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, and this is also something which he proves himself, because in the chapter 13 that I mentioned, actually one part of the chapter says that you should give food. When you give charity, the right of the rights of charity is when you give charity that there should be no witness. If I'm not wrong, I don't think I'm word for word correct, but it's that there should be no witness, or that there is no witness available when you're giving charity, in the sense that you hear the famous saying, I think it's from Imam Ali somewhere, it says you give with your left hand and your right hand shouldn't know. It's the same sort of lines where you're talking about giving charity but without telling anyone else, without making it obvious, without telling everyone. And this is something Imam Sajjad used to live by, and it was proven. So, and then finally, I just want to move on to Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam, and I just have one short quote from Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam Ja'far Sadiq says, alayhi salam, one who maintains the orphans, Allah makes paradise wajib upon him. Just take that in. One who maintains the orphans, Allah makes paradise wajib upon him. We all know the meaning of wajib. In the same way, He makes hell wajib upon those who usurp the property of the orphans. Meaning that, you see, when you have an orphan there, you have two options. You can either help him, or you can either dishelp him, disown him, or be mean to him. It's wajib. So if you help the orphan, if you maintain the orphan, maintaining means providing them food, looking after them. When you maintain something, it means you look after it, and you make sure it runs well. So when you maintain an orphan, you're looking after him, you're making sure him or her, she gets food, water, the necessities, clothes, place to sleep. And the person who maintains an orphan, even if it's one orphan throughout your lifetime, if you maintain an orphan, if you're looking after an orphan, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes heaven wajib upon you. That means you will go to heaven. It's wajib. It's something you will get. So you look at this, and I just wanted to say, we all call ourselves the Shias. This is just the concluding part of this short video. Is that we all say that we are the Shias of the Ahlulbayt. We want to be like the Ahlulbayt. So please get involved in any way possible and prove that we are the true Shias of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Prove that we are the true Shias of Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. We all cry out that we want to go to Syria. We all cry out that we want to be beside Sayyidina Zainab alayhi salam. Let's prove it. Let's prove it through other ways, other actions. We can prove it through many ways, and one of these ways are we can prove we can be like Sayyidina Zainab and look after the people when they are in need. Let's prove that we are the Shias of Imam Ja'far Sadiq. Let's prove we are the Shias of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. Let's prove that we are the Shias of all these people who taught us charity in many different ways. And there's many more stories I can go on about. But inshallah, I'm going to leave it there. And I just wanted to just say that with the Zahra Trust, this is obviously a short video for the Zahra Trust. So with the Zahra Trust, you can look after the people in need. You can look after the people who are hungry. You can look after the orphans. You can look after the Shaheed victims. Just check out the website, www.zahratrust.com/donate. You can donate for whatever cause you would like to donate towards. You can check out the website and see what the Zahra Trust do. You can see the different people they help, the different people they help, the different ways you can help in charity. It may not be financially, you may want to help physically. You can do so. Please get in contact with the Zahra Trust team and you can help physically. And on that note, inshallah, I'd like to thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.